o'clock. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Because this is a special meeting on Monday, July 22nd. We have two items on the agenda. The first item is to ratify an email vote that the board took to set this meeting, request for this meeting. And we need to approve that in this meeting, ratify it. Have any motion to ratify the vote of this meeting? Second. So the meeting has been ratified. The second item is going to be a lengthy item. As basically, the meaning is for this board of directors to vote to accept the proposal of the low bidder, Payne Brothers, and to start the preparation of the contract for that construction. The contract will be prepared, reviewed by the board and submitted for their review and a meeting yet to be scheduled, hopefully as soon as we can. The bids were presented and discussed in detail in the May 23rd meeting. And the low bidder amount of $846,850 was the basis that the board accepted to set the special assessment amount. The vote was unanimous, 9-0. The special assessment was approved, which was a great news for us. Hence, we have contacted the low bidders who indicated that since it took us so long to give him answer or to review, he has already contracted with other clients for a large size job, actually in Terrace Lake, that would require 6 months of work. And he's planned to start on that just after he finish our emergency section, which probably gonna be around the end of August, hopefully, weather allowing. But he will finish our section first. He's gonna move. Of course, we panicked and we discussed and begged and huddled, quite a few of us. We contacted the low bidder, the second low bidders, and he also indicated he has 6 or 8 months commitment so far on his table with money ready. And but anyway, to make a long story short, we are faced with the situation where we have a low bid and we have a special assessment with this low bid, and we have to produce a specific project for that money. Otherwise, I don't know what the consequences can be, not good for sure. We have.
To stop you for a second, I know that we have 3 bids. Who all did you say?
Can I finish first and then we get the questions? Otherwise, it's gonna get, yeah, if you don't mind. Excuse me. Anyway, so we have a situation where we have on hand a bid, and he did indicate he will honor it. Of course, he wants to make sure we're gonna honor our part of it and we have the money. And but he's gonna start a few months late. And we tried, we did not have any other option available to us for bids on our table, except this one. The second one is already $100,000 higher, which we cannot accept because that will void the special assessment. So some of us talked about it, and we are ready to recommend approval of this amount with that low bidders. This low bidders, Payne Brother, is one of the best around this area. Everybody's trying to get him right now. With this storm, we're still in July and we already have 2 storms. the availability of contractors or reputable contractors, and materials is going to be very hard to get right now. And the cost of the labor and the materials is bound to skyrocket, as we have seen in a lot of other things. So I guess, again, I repeat, we have a good bid, we have a good contractors, we have a commitment to the members that went out of their ways to vote this assessment to produce a project for that amount. And we're going to be requesting the board to vote on the low bidders. I can take comments now from the floor if you want, if anybody has any.
I have a list of 30 marine construction builders in the Houston and Galveston area. How many of those did you contact with the RFP and getting pricing out of this 30 list that I have?
We have contacted at least requested half a dozen people that we know in this area.
Could you share those names of those with us?
Oh, we can, some, I mean, 5 of them, you had the list on the previous bid that was there. I don't have it in front of me, but that's the situation is.
So we know that Waterside has done 2 bids for us, right? They've also offered to have 2 sets of crews. They were cheaper than Payne Brothers. They have better equipment than Payne Brothers. They did $6 million worth of work last year, where if you go on Mana and look at Payne Brothers information for what they reported to the federal government last year, it was $250,000 for what they did in work. You're saying everybody wants them, but I'm not seeing an apples to apples comparison. And I think the question is, we don't have anything in our RFP. I've got it right here. It states what type of equipment that they're going to be using, the length of the term from when it's going to start to when it ends, what material is going to be used. There's just a lot of variables that are not in the RFP. You guys are selecting the lowest bid. You know, I know that you guys talked to Coastline. I know they were expensive. We have a neighbor that's best friends with them. It's more expensive, but they've got the right equipment and the right materials. You know, I'm going to hand out something to each of y'all in a minute, but I just want to take the material aspect out of it. We have wood and vinyl as options that fit into our price category, right? And
no,
so,
not right.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't want to get into argument, but it's not correct. Let's hear what you have to say, and we'll go to the next question.
Well, obviously, I think I said enough.
No, finish.
No, I mean,
Would the gentleman identify himself and his address?
sure, Keith Gibson
And where do you live?
on Sandy Cove.
Any other questions? Steve?
Oh, I don't have questions, I have statements.
Please identify yourself.
I will. Steve Woods, 1805 Sandy Cove. And I question why we would enter into a contract with Payne Brothers when they're in breach of their current contract on many points. Would you guys like for me to go through those points, or do you know those points already?
Well, you can state them and we'll.
Okay, well, so this is the contract that was signed by Payne Brothers. It states that as a part of this contract is Exhibit 1 and the contractor proposal dated February 1 of 2024. So it says that this contract was signed on March 12th. It says in the contract that 100 days, that this work would be completed within 100 days of the contract signing. We are now at 132 days. And from what you just told us, looks like it's going to be another 40 days. So we're going to be at 172 days. Now, what this contract says is that the only way to change the term of this contract is by a change order. Has a change order been submitted and signed by the board to extend the days that the work is going to take? That's a simple yes or no.
No,
Okay, all right. Okay, so the second piece of this is, it says in here that the contractor shall supervise and direct work competently and efficiently, devoting such attention to apply skills, expertise, all the things necessary to do this bulkhead. As a part of this contract, it says that the contractor, you want me to read sections or no? So this is section 609, safety and precaution. It says, section 3, or paragraph 3, it says, other property at the site adjacent thereto, including trees, shrubs, lawns, walks, pavements, roadways, structures, and other work in progress, utilities and underground facilities not designated for removal, relocation, or replacement in the course of the construction. These things are supposed to be protected. There is a homeowner whose yard was removed in the process of building the bulkhead. That homeowner's home was put at risk, not by the storm that just happened, but by the removal of the dirt around their foundation. That is in direct breach of this contract. So it says all damage, injury, or loss to any property caused directly or indirectly in whole or in part by the contractor or anyone for whose acts the contractor may be liable shall be remedied by the contractor as at its expense. And then it has an exception to that, which we don't meet. It talks about in hurricane or in emergencies that safety precautions are to be taken to protect the property. There were no safety precautions taken to protect that homeowner's property. There should have been, if they removed the dirt, there should have been sandbags, rocks, something should have been put in place to protect that house. Because now, who's going to pick up the cost for that? And who directed or who gave the approval that it was okay to remove that dirt around that foundation and use it as backfill? So that's number one question. The other question, or the other place they're in breach is in the actual bid, it says, hang on. It doesn't give a lot of detail about materials and other things and how workmanship's to be done and how grass is supposed to be put back. But what it does say is that the backfill material is to be coarse gravel or crushed concrete with a filter fabric. Okay, I see the filter fabric, but when I look at what's been done so far, not a piece of gravel in there. It doesn't say a mixture of gravel. It doesn't say dirt and gravel. It doesn't say some gravel. This bid says gravel. They're in breach of contract under that. And I expect that we will have them dig that out and put gravel back because gravel is definitely more expensive than free dirt. So they're in breach there. And I'm going to tag on to what Keith said. In the proposal we got from the Payne brothers is a vinyl bid. You can say all day long, we don't like vinyl or vinyl's no good, but it looks like we requested a vinyl bid from Payne brothers. And there's one tiny little line at the bottom that says, if you want a wooden bulkhead, it's $150,000. So I don't know why we don't consider a vinyl bid, a vinyl bulkhead replacement. The other thing is you can do 100 feet of vinyl in a day. Now, not where there's boat lifts and other things, but part of this process should be a consideration of boat lifts and electrical and all the other stuff so that we know as owners know what to expect when they get to our boat lift. How much is it going to cost? Am I going to have to go get my own stuff? Where's this stuff going to be stored while they're tearing my stuff up? All of those things should be up front. This bid should be much more clear than it is so that when they tear out grass or dirt, there should be a process, especially on the waterfront, of the mesh that they put down before they put the grass down, because the grass is the only thing that holds the dirt in place when a storm hits. And that needs to be addressed with whoever it is. I could give a low bid too if I don't have anything if I don't have to put gravel in when I say gravel, if I don't have to meet a schedule, if I can dig up and do whatever I want. Well, I could be a low bid too. I don't think these guys should be, if this was them doing this, if they put this house at risk, they did these things, they did not put gravel in, they should not even be considered for this bid, in my opinion. That's most of my points. Now, would you like the answer? Yes, go ahead.
We're just gonna take them. We have commented and studied all those points, we discussed them. So we're gonna take them under advisement and the board will discuss those.
So why is
on
there
the
no
radio.
gravel in the hole? I want to know why there's no gravel in the hole.
I can
Because
answer most of the question. I can answer those after the meeting.
I want
We
to
have
answer them now
answered this.
because I was told that we were going to be supervising this every day. I'm going to tell you the other thing they didn't do. They didn't secure the
Okay,
materials.
I'm gonna address two
Hold on.
points. I'll
They
answer
didn't-
you in 2 points, okay? I
Okay,
heard you.
yes.
One is, it took us till early week of June to obtain the permit to start with, because the city will not process a permit until we receive the contract, and then we had a lot of discussions back and forth until 10. Two, the gravel was intentionally spec'd when we were trying to build our bulkhead in front of the existing one. And we really wanted to do that, we still wanted to do that. And we had a very small gap between the two walls. The only way to fill that is to fill with the gravel or granular fill of some kind. Knowing that anytime we have to reach and a bulkhead, most of the gravel or the granular fill will dissipate and will go in the lake. Two, the plan to build it in place is to move the dirt to be able to go back and put a lower beam and put it back in. That was discussed in length with all the bidders. If you talk to any bidders that will do this the way we done it, it's the same as the best fill we have is what we have. It's a great fill, it's clay, it stays so far. And the understanding of our bid with the contractors that we will remove the walkway, we will redo the grass, and we will basically do anything on our side of the bulkhead. All we ask them to, if they remove it and put it on the side, we remove it ourselves with the hope that we can reuse it.
Okay,
So
so
that's
I'm gonna
that's the answer
stop.
of your question.
Okay, I'm gonna rebuttal that because in your bid and in the contract, it says if we're going to remove the bulkhead, it's $50,000. The wood bulkhead was $150,000. It says if you're removing the wood bulkhead, it's another $50,000, which brings the bid to $200,000. We took a $200,000 bid, so we were not planning on putting a bulkhead in front of a bulkhead and filling the gap with gravel. The contract says backfill with gravel. You better get them to backfill with gravel.
His bid for the replacement place accounted for him putting back the dirt. This is not new fill. We are just.
I have a contract, and the contract says gravel backfill. Rolf,
I heard
that's
you.
what it says.
Okay, I heard
You know what I want? I want what I paid for.
Yeah.
Okay,
We heard you.
okay. Well, I don't want somebody telling me they're gonna talk to me after the meeting. Let's talk about it in the meeting, right here, where everybody can hear that we did not get gravel backfill. Yeah, well, okay. Okay. Let somebody else talk.
I think we needed to make sure that everybody that has questions gets a chance to have questions. So that's my point.
Keith. I don't have a question. Barbara Gaines, who cannot be here because she's traveling, sent a statement to me that she asked me to read. So I will read it. Obviously, I can't answer any questions because it's not my statement, it's Barbara's, but I'm reading it for you. I get it. Everyone is tired and would like Bal Harbour to return to the quiet community of prior years, and I include the board members in this group. However, to keep this community the place we all want to stay and live in, there are major projects that have to be dealt with. I voted to approve the 3,600 for bulkheads, believing that the work would commence soon after the completion of the 300-foot section on the lakefront. The construction would be best completed during the fall and winter months when tides are lower and it is less likely to have severe storms. Mother Nature was against this plan and brought us Beryl. I believe that today, this evening, we need to take a step back and slow down. If the bid is approved tonight, no work will be done until March of 2025 at the earliest. Delaying acceptance tonight does change that fact. I'm very aware that there are sections that need replacement sooner rather than later. I believe we should hire an outside structural engineering firm to evaluate all of the 5,009 feet of bulkheads and estimate their useful life, presenting us with a detailed report including areas of immediate concern and a full timeline for replacement. The second phase would include recommendations, materials, specifications, preparations of an RFP. They can assist with obtaining bids, reviewing bids for compliance, summarize, and make a presentation to all the members. We use other professionals such as lawyers and accountants. Considering the magnitude of the project, this is a small component of the total cost. What needs to be made clear to everyone is this is not a one-time $3,600 special assessment and we're done. This is just slightly over 1/3 of what is needed, and it does not include walkways, retaining walls, or removing and reinstalling boat lifts. A reassessment of all the bulkheads to determine the condition of Beryl is needed. I'm also researching what is required to change the due date of the special assessment. We should not be collecting funds from members beginning August 2024, when the funds will not be needed for at least 7 months. There is also concern that the work is supposed to be completed by August of 2025. These are state laws we need to research and adjust our plan based on our findings. That's it.
Keith, can you hear me? Katie?
I just have a question because I'm kind of new to these meetings. Is the purpose of the meeting just so that people can ask questions and then you guys talk about them later and then you kind of give us an answer to the questions later? Or like, I'm just confused as to like why his questions, why he was cut off. I don't know. Maybe it would be helpful if we had like a process, just explanation of what we're here for. And it's like, I don't understand why he couldn't ask all his questions. I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, what we have been doing is this particulars have been done and discussed in several meetings, right? We had the same questions and we looked at all the facts and all that, and we come up with some decisions. And we are a board of 9 people elected by you all that looked at all the facts and the decision, and they're trying to make the best decision for our community. And it may not be the best ever, but for conditions we have in hand and situation we have in hand and the restrictions, the board tried all time to make a decision the best that we can at this time. Well, it's not one person, it's not 2, we are 9, which is pretty good representation for a community of this size. And you elected them and they are making their own decision the best way they can. And that's where we are. Basically, we do try to answer all the questions 1 or 2 or 3 times. This particular issue has been discussed in length for the last year and more than a year. And that's why we're in dilemma building this thing in a hurricane time, because of the back and forth issues that we did not satisfy some of the people concerned, which are legit. But we've done our researches. We are building a bulkhead in the lake in the middle of hurricane season, while we could have done it 6 months ago. Anyway, so I don't know if it does answer your questions, but normally we will respond to that once or twice. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Hi, and I apologize. I'm not very good at remembering names of people. Your name is what again? Annie, that's right. Okay. So Annie, in the course of these meetings, and I've seen this before I was elected to be on this board, we get in these meetings and we have people with varying ideas, and they do need to be heard. But what happens if you do these in these meetings end up taking hours and hours and hours, and you end up not getting anything done. The input is great, and we need the input from all the homeowners. We need to hear your opinions and then incorporate those into our decisions. In the middle of a noticed meeting, that takes a lot of time, and you could see from the discussion starting with Keith and then the discussion starting with Steve, they're very passionate about their ideas. And that's good. There's not a problem with that. The problem is hashing those out in the middle of a noticed meeting where we've got everybody sort of as a captive audience, if you will. I don't know if that's the right place to have that conversation. It does need to be brought up as part of a noticed meeting. I think that's a requirement of the laws. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I know Robert's rules because I used to run an organization years ago, but you generally have these conversations before the meetings so that the meetings can run smoothly. And that's what Robert's rules are for. So I appreciate that Keith has these ideas. I haven't heard them from Keith before. I guess I should have gone around and shook his hand and said, tell me all your ideas. I know I have talked to Steve, and I know where Steve stands on some of these things. We've had these discussions before. But from the standpoint of a noticed meeting, we could be here all night if we get two sides that are entrenched in an idea and want to argue that point, and we end up not getting anything done. So maybe that's a bad answer, and I apologize if it's a bad answer. It's just kind of my perspective on how an ordered meeting should occur. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm still not sure on what the purpose is.
So, and again, I'm going to speak for Rauf, I think, and I mean, other people can chime in, but we're trying to lock down a proposal, accept the bid for the price that we built the cost of the special assessment around. And special assessment was passed, so now we have a constraint that that's the money that we have, and that's the description of the project that we have, and we're trying to lock that down so that we can produce for the homeowners what they voted for a couple of weeks ago. The downside is we have a lot of pressure on the market around here. I don't know if any of you people have talked about to any of the people calling, the thousands of people calling about coming to replace your roof, but you know, you have a storm like this and costs go up. So we have a contractor that said, I will be willing to honor the cost that I gave you, but I have to do this other project first because he's already committed to that project. So we're just trying to make sure that we don't get into a situation where we're back at square one. The special assessment that we worked very hard for quite a few months to try to get people to understand, to understand the need for, we don't want to have to start from square one and redo all that work again. I mean, we can have lots of conversations. I know Steve's a big fan of vinyl bulkheads. Okay, I came from the polymers industry. There's things I can say about polymers. They may or may not have any application. I don't know. It's not my expertise. But, you know, these questions are valid. We're just trying to actually execute on some work that the board has to execute on so we can move forward with a glaring problem that we're dealing with. I mean, it is a problem. We're trying to make this problem, make a solution to this problem in an expeditious manner with the funds that the homeowners have said will allow you to spend to do this. That's basically what this boils down to. I don't know if anybody else has something to say in that regard. I mean,
Katie?
It is a published agenda. So that's what we have to deal with tonight, is just that agenda. So all questions and all concerns are appropriate and are acceptable. But tonight, we have a situation where we have a certain amount of money spend. And the prices are going to go up because of the pressure. And our contractor has agreed to honor his pricing. And we can
At
get
some
that done now.
point,
If
I
we wait
really
and
want
don't
to
do
answer
it,
these guys and
then
make a
it's gonna be
statement. I've been
cost, it's
waiting,
gonna
but I
cost
don't
more.
know
We'll
if
have to
you
have
can
another
see me
special
doing that
assessment.
or
I don't
not.
wanna do that. So
And
that's my answer.
before they go to making a motion, so if you could. Am I on the speaker, Keith?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, I am on the road, so forgive me if I lose you or something goes wrong, but I feel strongly about trying to get through to some of you on the board. The questions that were asked tonight have been asked many times and they have not been answered in an open board meeting. We have had too many discussions that have gone on in emails, etc., to try and make decisions, and it's wrong. It needs to be discussed in an open board meeting. Everyone who is there tonight needs to know what your thought process is. Rolf, you took the lead in obtaining bids to get this work started. That was what you were you offered to do, and you were based on your experience. You did. I think you have taken it to the point of it being going beyond what your authority was. You have not brought all of that information back to the board. When there's been changes, you said in either obtaining permits or going to it was not the GLO, but I think it was the land office to get permits. None of that was brought back to the board because I was not aware that that even happened. And I've been at every board meeting up till now. So there's things that have been going on that you're handling and you're assuming the authority to do that, which I think is inappropriate because all of us, all 9 of us are responsible to the homeowners and we have a duty to understand what's going on. I don't think you did this out of malice. I'm not saying that. It's just you have taken a step way beyond what we should have done. The additional thing, as far as I became aware of recently, the damage that Steve and Keith have talked about on the corner of Dave and Colleen Randall's unit, the digging out of that fill and it not being replaced before the storm or only being replaced with sand has caused a problem. I don't know, from my standpoint, I can't tell for sure if that was just storm damage, if it was damage caused by the removal of the fill, or which would have made Payne Brothers. But as I understand it, you told Payne Brothers to do that, and you have told the Randalls that you accept responsibility for that, and that we, the board of directors and the home and the association, will make sure that that is taken care of and repaired. You have stepped beyond what you can commit to the board to do. And I'm sorry, I feel strongly about this. I'm not trying to divide the board, but it's time we're upfront with the owners of what's going on, and it has to be addressed. That's it. And if you do vote to, because I have to be, and it's hard for me to get on to this answer it. If you have a motion to accept this bid, I want to be on record that I will not vote for it. So, thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
Question,
Yes, sir.
how long is the quote good for?
Is what?
How long is the quote good for?
Probably if we doesn't have a specific time, if we go next week and we tell them we have to think about it, it's probably gone.
So they gave us a quote and they didn't say this.
No,
quote
they
is-
don't, and they will
They
not.
don't do that.
They don't and will not.
Probably, Ralph, you have to be more specific. How long is the bid good for? It should be in the contract listed or in the bid, how long is the bid good for? All I'm gonna say is one thing, risk management. Right now, this HOA, including all of us members, are at great risk because of things that were said, things that are done, because we're not qualified. I'm not qualified to look at bids for building multi-million-dollar projects. And we requested this. And I remember I was at the meeting to get a professional in here, a structural engineer, a professional that's qualified in doing these big projects. And all of you took it upon yourselves to do this yourself. And this is risk management. I don't do risk in my company. I've run many companies. I don't do risk. I stay away from risk. I hire professionals that know what they're doing, that are qualified to make these decisions. This is what really worries me. I know all of you have good hearts and you're all trying to do the right thing, and that's wonderful, but it's not business. I run a business. I'm not a bank. I tell my clients I'm not a bank. I run a business, and I run it to my best ability by hiring people, qualified individuals to come in and work with me. And that's all we're saying here. And I highly suggest it. And I don't know if I speak for any of you here, but I highly suggest that you hire a consultant to come in, give us all peace of mind to handle this big project, because this project has become bigger. And what we're seeing right now is really scary. What we're seeing right now with Colleen and Dave Randall's home. That's, to me, I look at it, you look underneath that house and it's empty. They've lost everything. And dirt, packing clay and all that stuff, it's not gonna cut it. And it's scary. So I'm just gonna say that, risk management.
May I ask you a question? Have you looked at the resume of anybody on this board?
I have looked people up, yes, but
Well,
you're
you're-
not qualified to do a multi-million-dollar project like
Ralph
this.
is.
None of you.
Ralph has done that his whole career.
Ralph has
in
done
bulkhead.
flooding. Ralph has done, he's been over flooding, different
Building
situations like
bulkheads.
that.
Building
Yeah,
bulkheads.
15
His
plus
whole
years
career,
ago.
his whole career has
Yeah,
been building
honestly,
bulkheads. I
that's
guarantee you,
wonderful.
if you get another
You're wasting your time.
That's wonderful.
So we have a competent person on board. Why would we want to spend scarce
It's
HOA
not
money
scary.
on
It's
somebody
not
else?
scary.
You go to the doctor and he says you're about to have a heart attack, you
Yeah.
go to another doctor to get a second opinion.
Second opinion.
If you can afford it.
We can
can't
afford
afford
it. We can. We can't afford what's happening now.
Guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay,
Can we get the board's response to Barb's comment?
18607 Sandy Cove. I think we all know that this needs to happen. Everyone here passed the assessment. No one's denying that this needs to happen. What you're sitting up here and telling us is that the 9 of y'all are hired and we voted you in to represent us. Think about that and what you're representing for us. The 9 of y'all also unanimously voted for Barbara to represent you. That unanimous representation is telling you do not move forward with this, and it is a bad idea. So if you can't listen to who you voted to represent you, why should we listen to y'all who were voted to represent us?
thank you. Anybody else? This question? Hey, Steve.
Katie?
If you indeed did direct Payne Brothers to dig up the dirt around their house, I'm gonna go back to the contract. I love contracts. It's what I do for a living.
We do construction. We do that for a living.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Article 7, owner's responsibility. F, the owner shall not supervise, direct, have control or authority over, nor be responsible for contractors' means, methods, techniques, sequences, procedures of construction, or the safety precautions and programs, or for any failure of contractor to comply with laws, regulations, application. Owner shall not be responsible for contractors' failures to perform the work in accordance with the contract documents. Did you tell these guys that the HOA that we would pay for the damage to their house?
What we have told the contractor, the only thing we have told the contractor is he cannot build in front of the existing one, and he has to go remove the existing bulkhead and remove all the existing boards, any attachment to the boards, and he has to go deep enough in the back of the bulkhead to install the 3 whalers that we have. This is what we told the contractor. How he does it, how he does not, it's his own business. We never told him anything. The implication of, or the mechanism, if you are into construction, to remove the equipment behind the bulkhead and existing bulkhead requires that he has to remove some of the fill. This is
I understand
ABC
that.
of any bulkhead construction. Let me finish.
Okay, I asked you
I
two questions
heard
you're
you.
not answering.
I heard you. Let me finish. And the fact that we have built a home this close to stuff, and we have a slope that is less than 45 degrees, steeper than 45 degrees slope in the property of the owner, it's not the bulkhead issue, the construction issue. What happened is he removed the fill, he filled it up all the way to the bottom, higher than the foundation, and we have a segment of the grass, 45 feet. We got that storm. Unexpected storm, the first storm came in like from nowhere and removed some of that slope. That's all what happened. If you want to make a federal case about that, that's fine. That's all I have to answer about it.
So there were 2 pieces to this. Because I saw their house before the storm got here and there was still grass there up to their foundation. Someone directed them to scrape that grass.
We have not directed him. He had to go behind the bulkhead
Okay.
to do his construction.
So did you or did you not say that the HOA would take responsibility for that? And why?
For what?
For the damage to his foundation.
I did mention to him that we'll help putting it back. The contractor is responsible for all the way to put the backfill back behind the bulkhead.
Okay, because this
And the
says the
contract-
contractor's responsible. Why would you obligate the
Listen,
HOA?
I've been in construction all my life.
Okay,
When a storm comes
hey,
in.
me too, by the way.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm about 20 years more than you.
Okay.
When a storm come in, a hurricane.
I'm doing this $85 million project right now.
I'm in $350 million project, okay?
All I'm
Guys,
saying
And
is,
yeah, stop it.
I don't care. I just want to know who's going to fix his foundation and why is, according to the
We have
contract,
been
according to the contract, the contractor's responsible to pay for the repairs to his house.
Other than Phil, what's wrong with his foundation?
Other than Phil, they're going to have to remove his porch and backfill and fill underneath the house.
No,
There's this many boards.
Okay, well, look, we'll just come wash out the foundation under your house. We'll just see how big the deal is.
I'm just trying to get answers, and it's, to me, he's missing some fill from around his house that can easily.
Dave,
Who's
is that,
paying for
Dave,
it?
is that the extent of the damage?
okay, guys, we have,
No, I'm asking, I want to know.
let me just add one thing. All our bulkheads are built very close to homes.
We know that, man. We know that.
You're gonna have that issue and that stuff in every house we have. You wanna fix the bulkhead or you don't wanna fix the bulkhead? Any more questions?
yes, Katie.
Yes, ma'am.
Carrie Humphrey, 2703 Lighthouse. I don't believe the question has really been answered as whose responsibility it is to take care of Dave and Colleen's home. I have heard, not from you, but I have heard that it was going to be taken care of by the HOA. I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
This is David Randall. I'm
Hey.
712
She's
Lighthouse.
ahead of you.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that is our property of concern on this particular time. And I don't know the answer of how what the right process is for not just putting the fill in, but does it have to be packed and all that? But I do want it to be done right, and that's our main concern. And I think we did dodge a bullet because it could have been worse. And of course, we are exposed right now in case there's another storm, so kind of worried about that too. And, you know, we did prepare pictures, and we may not need to go through those pictures, but they're pretty scary. They did take out, I think, more grass than was needed, because before the storm, they took like 4 feet beyond the edge of the boardwalk, which, oh, there's a picture. Yeah, that's how far they went back. There was about 4 feet of grass in front of that. And so, as you can see, that go down a little bit. Yeah, you see how far they went back. And because nothing was there to, I mean, this one takeaway is that the grass is extremely important as a part of your protection everywhere. That's a big lesson learned. It's very important. And we didn't apparently do anything to stop the waves from getting to that dirt right there. And it if you go down, we should probably show. So you can see this is after, this is it from a distance, but all that black space there, that's how much of what eroded out, and it went all the way under the deck, which is about 8 feet. It eroded all the way to the foundation and a little bit under the foundation in a spot about that long. And it's pretty scary. If you're, I have pictures. I do have pictures from, keep going down. So this is from underneath the deck. So all that light you're seeing come in, none of that light would be coming in if you were under the deck before the storm. So you can see how a lot of dirt under the deck is eroded away. Go down one more. That you can see where the footings did stop it, you know, but in between the footings, you know, it eroded big swaths of the dirt out. Keep going down. And so that's where you can see my foundation on the left, and you can see that big old gap of dirt came out. And then just to the left of that, you can see where is where the next photo is going to be, where you can see under my foundation here. Next picture. Keep going. Yeah, so there is a picture with a light on it, kind of seeing how it was under my foundation. And there's another picture of the same spot. And they also actually hit the decking in a couple of spots with the bucket when they were doing that, taking the dirt out. And just for comparison, if you do look on the other side of the canal, which is kind of equivalent, you know, where the grass was not disturbed, you know, you did not have any major erosion. So grass is important.
I know. Let me ask you just one quick question, Dave. I looked at your home more than you did, and more than the engineer you hired, trust me. Ask him, the structural engineer you hired, what is kind of fill that your house should be built on in that area? And what is the safe slope that you have to have it? And what is grass when you get this 4 feet waves that we got, unlike even Ike? The wave action in our community at that level was worse than Ike, because Ike, we had a very high tide first, and then we got some waves. This one, the waves hit before the tide comes in, and then hit your house. One fact, possibility. If we did not change that bulkhead, if the guy did not come in and hurry and finish that section in front of you, coming this hurricane, you probably have lost much more than a deck. Trust me, there was no bulkhead in front of your home. So then your house was safe. Secondly, the slope, the minimum slope you have with bank sand or any fill is going to be at least 3 to 1, and you have to have hard protection to it. Grass does help, but it's not enough for these waves. In your case, to really do it right, if you want to preserve it, first of all, it's your private property, it's your design. You get an engineer, there is 10 engineers going to go there and find out your design is faulty to start with. So, I mean, this is something that you have a very steep slope. You have almost 4 or 5 feet of height and 4 feet distance, and you're doing like this. The house across the canal stood We don't know what the angle, you can discuss this, the wave came in, we got that area, we got our waves. And was it promoted or prompted faster with the excavation? Yes, I'm not saying no.
A
And
big difference,
what is that?
a big difference was made by the grass being gone.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the grass is better than some other, an extra bulkhead or something, Ralph, I don't know, you know, nobody would think that, nobody would
We
think that.
have,
But what we have here is we have a lot of evidence for this storm. And yes, I understand there's differences in where the wave action is and all that, okay? But there's a lot of grass in other places facing the lake, which the waves were coming across the lake, so they're pretty much equivalent, except for the fact that where there was no grass, we lost about 20 or 25 cubic yards of dirt that did not happen in all those other places where that grass is. So don't even go there saying that I should have had a bulkhead or.
I'm not saying
or-
that. I'm not saying
There's
that.
the point is that if they wouldn't have taken that grass out, I understand that they had pulled up bulkhead and they put a lot of new bulkhead in, and that's great. I understand that. And I understand that there was, you know, they were pushed for time and didn't have time to go get extra dirt and they had to pull dirt from other places. But the bottom line is that that grass was protecting my place, and with it taken out, we lost about a bunch of yards of dirt. That it wouldn't have happened if the grass was there. You can't
Okay.
argue with that, and if you do, it's not sensible.
Okay, I'm not arguing, Dave, but the day the storm came in, your grass on the slope were still there. The only area was in front of the slope where the walkway was there. That's where the excavation was. And we're just trying.
Put the picture back, go up to near the top where it shows where where all the grass is missing.
Dave, we said we're gonna try to work together to,
A little higher. Right there. Right there. That tells the story of how much grass was removed.
There's mud there, it's all under that. It's a wall of mud.
It was their responsibility to put sandbags and protect his house.
The erosion, not only that, but the erosion, you know, where that limited space is, it eroded and ate up around the corner on the outside, and that way also another 10 feet. So it eroded under and out. It because of the grass would have done a good job, just like it did in all the other spots on the lake.
okay. Thank you. Anybody else has questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just curious, because I still haven't heard like a really clear-cut answer that it's been asked several times, is like, whose responsibility is it to fix that problem that we just saw? Is it in the contract that you guys agree that it was in the contract, that the contractors are responsible for it? Or do you agree that it's the HOA responsibility?
All we're saying is gonna get fixed with the responsibility of it is.
That's not what I'm asking.
It's not an answer.
That's not really what I'm at. I'm asking, what is your understanding of whose responsibility it is? And the reason why I'm asking is that if it could happen to that home, and if it happens again on multiple other homes, the costs could be much higher than they are just with the
I
one property.
understand.
Yeah, so I just would like that answer.
I understand. I don't have the answer for you now because it's the issues that can get into arguments and litigation. We cannot talk about it right now. There is a storm, excuse me, there is a storm out there, and the storm can do a lot of things that is very hard to defend one side or the other. That's all I know right now.
Who resolves that
This
question?
is why you
If
guys
there's
should
two
not be writing
sides,
contracts.
That's right.
That's why you shouldn't be doing contracts.
Litigation, so why should we be in bed with somebody?
If there are two sides that have competing interest in that discussion, like some people say it's the HOA's responsibility, some people say it's the contractor's responsibility. Who decides which side is right? Can you
Okay.
answer that?
We will discuss this and we'll provide an answer soon.
Was gonna discuss it.
We have a question. There's a question in the Zoom chat that says, please ask Raouf to answer the question about whose responsibility it is to pay for the repair. And if he said the HOA will pay for it, because earlier he said he did.
Okay, thank you.
This is Anne asking the question.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna answer or?
We'll provide an answer, we'll look at it, not right now.
Paul
I
Schilling.
cannot answer for the board.
Paul Schilling at 18417 Sandy Cove. I've been on boards, both profit and nonprofit, my whole life. And I heard the comment about, and I'm sure you're all very qualified, I've seen your resumes, but when it comes to making major decisions, financial decisions for a board, it's always in the best interest to find somebody outside of that board to do the work for you. Absolutely, because it takes the liability off of the association. And right now, you folks have opened yourself up to a lot of liability. And regardless of what was said or not said, and to this lady's question, who should you be supporting right now? You should be supporting the homeowners association and going to Dave and Colleen's back. You shouldn't be even suggesting anybody else other than the Payne brothers is responsible for this damage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Somebody was saying this,
Yeah.
My name is John Moyer, excuse me, I got too spoke. Live at 2704 Lighthouse Drive. Given what I heard tonight, Mr. Freed, I'm asking for your resignation tonight.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Heard. Any other questions?
Katie,
So
can
you
I
said
speak
that we
again?
discussed this in meetings before, and you guys don't want to stay late because if people really wanted to speak their minds, we'd be here all night. Why don't you guys create a forum so that all 237 homeowners and their spouses, or whoever lives with them, so we can hash this stuff out before we get to a meeting. And that way you guys don't come in with no bullets in your gun and we can get some things solved instead of just meeting once a month or doing these special meetings where you really don't want to hear what the homeowners have to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Representing the Zoom chat from folks that couldn't be here in person, there was a request for someone other than Raouf to respond to Barb's comments. I understand he's a subject matter expert, but would like to hear what others think about the situation.
I did not hear you. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, there was a request from the chat for someone other than Raouf to respond to Barbara's comments.
Anybody wants to respond?
The request is that someone other than Raouf responds to what Barbara specifically said.
I heard you.
Okay.
I couldn't hear what Barbara said. From where I am,
Yeah.
it was, I couldn't
Yeah,
make
we
it out.
probably need to do an external.
Sorry.
So Katie, I don't know if this is a direct answer to Barb's direct comment and or question.
And this is Anne direct.
Okay, that's fine. But based on all the conversation tonight, and there's a lot of passionate homeowners here. They have their opinions about things, and in Dave's case, he's got a real issue that he, you know, as we have to deal with as an organization. It's all understandable. I think we should probably table the vote for accepting the bid tonight, and I would like to make a motion to table the bid for this evening for a later meeting so we can have discussions about what the homeowners have brought tonight and some of the questions that have been raised. I think we need to back up a little bit and satisfy some of the issues. That's my opinion for tonight.
Second.
We can table, we are a board of 9 or not, but there is always a risk of losing that bid. That's all I'm saying. And if we lose that bid,
Why would you hire somebody that's already
Who's
failing?
willing to risk the bid?
Hire an expert.
Thank you.
Do an RFP.
okay,
Yes.
sure.
So I know everybody's very passionate about this and I do hear your criticisms. I just want everybody to be aware that if we do table the bid and we do lose the opportunity to hire this contractor, we don't know what we're going to replace it with. And we don't know when we're going to replace it. So we're taking the passion of 3 or 4 owners and we're going against the vote of 110 owners. I just want you to be aware of that. And that if we do table the bid, we do lose this contractor, it's because of this discussion tonight. What I'm going to say.
I just understand.
Katie, can I say,
Is there is a motion on the floor to table the bid. Is there any second?
Katie,
Anyone
tell them I want to
second?
second it.
I'm good, second.
Okay. Any comments?
I like it.
Okay, all right. We had worked really hard to get the assessment passed. And that created a lot of fervor on our part. I personally went door to door at 40 homes on my street because I thought it was an important thing to do, and I still do. And I think, and 110 people thought it was, and 39 homes didn't, and then whatever's left over didn't care one way or another, apparently. Okay, so that being said, the important thing was to get that. The discussions that have been were about, you know, it was a financial situation is what we're looking at right now. Not, I want to kind of address Dave's situation, but the reason that we wanted to move rapidly was because we didn't want to lose the bid and have to pay more money, which we don't have more money, we would just have to have less covered. Okay, so everybody understands that. That's an agreeable point, right? Maybe? Okay, good. Okay, so that's as far as I knew when I walked in here what was happening. Okay, I knew that Dave had some problems. I didn't know the extent of them. Okay, this and who's at cause for it, I don't know that either. I've heard both sides, and I still don't know because I can't know. I'm not an expert. I can listen to both sides and decide. And when I can't decide, then I don't have enough data. Okay, that's a personal thing with me. Okay, yeah, and that's why I was tempted. You know, I'm going, oh, okay, I don't know all this and everything like that. And the timing is like what Fred said, that it is a timing. And money has been an issue back and forth with everyone, that money has been an issue. We were spending it wrongly. I don't know. I haven't been spending money wrongly. I know that. Okay. The previous boards and all this, and I was, but personally, it's very difficult for me to decide with the information that with this new information. This reminds me of us, you know, watching a courtroom drama, and all of a sudden we have another. And I hate. I don't want to make light of it because it isn't light. Dave is a friend of mine, and I tried to reach him weeks ago to find out how this thing was going on, and we weren't able to contact one another. So anyway, But if, you know, to me, I thought we had it figured out, okay, from the things that I had heard and everything like that. And I know that, but right now, I can't say as I know that I have it figured out. And that's why I thought that I would second the tabling of it. And then as the gentleman said, there's a lot of liability here. And there's a lot of liability if we don't get, if we don't get a bid that approaches the bid that we have now. That's the liability too. These are hard decisions, very difficult when there's not a clear cut. I know for a number of people here, it's very clear cut, okay? I wish it was a clear cut for me. But that's what I as a board member have been faced with, and I'm not an expert in any of these fields, so I have to listen to other people who I know and respect their knowledge. Okay, that being said, I think that's the calmest way I can put you know, what's going on, and it's hard to there's almost like two issues and that are, but they're not even really in conflict. We've got to get Dave's situation handled. That's for sure. One way or another, it's got to be handled. And the extent of it is like brand new news to me. So that's why I'm going like, I don't know. Okay, that tipped it a little bit in my direction. So that I'm just explaining my position. And that, I guess that's all I have to say. Okay, thanks.
Anybody mind if I speak? Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, Matt, for the honesty and for telling us your explanation. It goes a long way and we appreciate it as homeowners. So thank you.
Well, and listening to Matt, I want to make it clear that I'm seeing a room, I don't know, there's probably maybe 30 people here-ish, maybe. And there's a lot of passion around positions that these people hold, and these people being you guys. And I'm not saying that your positions are wrong, not my point. Dave's got an issue, and Dave, you're controlling your passion really well. If you're really passionate about it, I commend you for that. My point in making the motion I did was that we have a lot of emotion in this room and decisions. I know we've had lots of conversations about the bids and the risks, and trust me, one of the ladies brought up the issue about risk management, and I fully understand. I did risk management as well, to a degree, and probably different. But my point is, there's a lot of emotion in this room tonight, and everyone wants to be heard, and that's fine. That's why I brought up the issue of we should probably have communications channels outside of these meetings so that we don't spend 6 hours arguing with each other about points when we're here to do business, the business of the HOA, and that's what we're here to try to do. I'm really concerned. I know that I didn't see your pictures before, obviously. I walked over and looked at, the washout area. I walked over and looked at it when the lake was up and you couldn't see the bulkhead. You couldn't see any of the dirt. You couldn't see the grass around your house. It was up against your deck skirting. I mean, I am well aware that you're going to have washout from that. That's going to happen. And it did. So I don't know what caused that. I wasn't, I didn't stand there and watch it the whole time. It was the middle of the storm. But my point tonight is there's obviously a need for communication. And people brought up some ideas around, and I've heard this a lot before about bringing in a professional to do this. And we have people who are as knowledgeable as a professional as we can hire. I believe that. I've seen that work. We need to talk about our steps forward, because if we take this vote tonight, my feeling is if we take this vote tonight, I think it's the right vote. I think it's the right decision to make. But in the end, it will cause more issues with the people sitting in this room. And I'm trying to keep us in the realm of a friendly group of neighbors, not a bunch of people that hate each other. And right now I'm seeing from some of these people with the language coming out, some of the words that are being said, there's a lot of hate going on here. And there's a lot of hate in our world as it is now anyway. I really don't want it in my neighborhood. I'm trying not to have that hate in our neighborhood. So, I mean, Barbara brings up some good points. Some of the things that she said, I've seen things that are contrary to what she has said. That happens. We all have our own memories of what was said and what was done. Am I right? Is he right? I don't know. All I can tell you is I'm trying to get us to a point where we can make that good decision that we all know is the right decision to make. We've got the Dave issue that, I mean, that's another complication. That's got to be resolved. I'm okay. I think if we can move quickly on communications from the moment we leave this meeting and satisfy some of the things that some of these people are saying, I think we can get to a calmer vote in a relatively short period of time. That's my hope and my prayer. I don't know if people are really tied to their opinions, then we're going to have a fight, because two people with competing opinions that they're tightly tied to never agree. So I want to get us to the point where we can agree and then get this vote done so we can get this work done, because it is important work for the community.
Sorry, it's again, not me, it's Katie from the chat, but just wanted to know there was a giant thumbs up and a comment that they appreciate all of the hard work. This is a difficult topic and appreciate what y'all are doing.
Katie, Katie, can I make one more comment?
Go ahead. It's my turn. Okay, so I didn't know the extent either of some of those things I saw, so appreciate that. I don't know exactly how that really affects this particular decision. It seems like another aspect of something I think we need to discuss and figure out, what the solution is for that. But I can understand the rationale. I heard some risk being discussed, and there's not as risk goes, it's not just a one-sided type of evaluation. It's one thing versus the other, and the other is for us is that we can put off voting for stuff. I mean, that's easy for everybody to walk out, and then we don't have to argue in this room and talk about it some other time. I get that, but we know that that's really not probably in our best interest, at least not very long, because it's very clear in the circumstances that we have that we are at risk of losing a low bidder that was the whole basis of our assessment, which puts us at potentially a risk that we're not going to be able to scope the thing the same way, and the cost down the road, whenever we're able to put that back together, may look very different. And then the same sort of fingers and they'll get pointed about why didn't you take action sooner, et cetera, et cetera. So that's, when you're trying to look at one risk versus the other, we have to recognize that we're having to make choices here, none of which we think are very easy. And there is a lot of experience, amongst this board to, evaluate things. Sure, we can hire more experts and we can pay for those experts, but then we have to legislate that information in such a way that we can agree with it and turn it into decisions, which then puts us further down the road. No matter how you really look at it, we're going to be back here later. And in my my worry is that when we're back here later, we won't have the same kind of choices we have today right now. And those choices right now is we have a low bidder. We can argue about whether they're a good contractor or not, their means and methods are proper. Every time I've watched them, they've done with the situation they've had, and that situation is tough. Man, that corner and the way they worked that corner was I don't know, you can't tell me someone else would have done any better or any worse. That was a hard job. And we can argue about that or not. I don't think any other bulkhead builder could have done worse too. But what we do know is we have a low bidder. We have, and I don't even know if it's arguable, a contractor that is probably the highest demand contractor on bulkheads on Clear Lake, bar none. Nassau Bay, when they have something that gets messed up, they call Payne Brothers. If they have a bulkhead builder that pulls a permit, you know what they do? Who they hire to inspect it? Payne Brothers. We can't, my only point is we can't just throw them under the bus and say they're bad and they do terrible things and they violate contract. I can guarantee you, any contractor we get out here, if we sit there and watch them enough, we could pick them apart with so much detail that they wouldn't even come back. We have to determine and evaluate when we're watching them perform their work, whether their means and methods, fit the work that's being done in such a way that's not risking, the homeowner, the HOA, in the best way they can. We have to use some judgment as well as the contract. If we just go out there and go straight on contract terms, I guarantee we pick one. Just pick one that we'll hire later. If it's a different one, we'll get there. So no, let me finish. I'm
going to stand sideways instead of opposing you. Position.
Yeah. And so my concern again is that if we just wait and put it off and look for a different option in the future, it's going to be very difficult to find something that's going to be, compatible, comparable to what we have. So we missed that opportunity, and the risk is letting that opportunity, slide.
Mm-hmm.
So that's as one board member, I'm one board member like the other 9. We have a right to our opinion, and our opinion's based on our own experiences. That's all I can share. I'll listen to, and I've listened to everything that everybody has said, and I appreciate it. I really do. But I have a big concern here that, we're delaying something that's putting us in a greater risk situation long-term. And I just don't want to be back here again and talking about the fact that we didn't act. And so that is my concern that I want to make sure I wanted to get conveyed.
No, I appreciate your words, Mark, because you've told me more about the Payne Brothers. I hadn't heard too much about Payne Brothers. Really, like somebody really saying, I know their work, this is what it is. I mean, Ralph has some but most of us here aren't bulkhead experts. And I appreciate what all the volunteering and all the work you all do. And I'm not saying, I'm personally not 100% sure, what's the right way to go on this. And I appreciate the risk, that there is some risk taking for not making a decision today. But I want to put my finger on one thing, and that is, I think the biggest difference we have here today is an knowledge about this contractor and why we've picked them, and varying levels of confidence in this contractor based on what we know. And so this is the biggest disconnect we have here today, is about this Payne Brothers outfit. So I think that's a big part of getting on the same page is for all of us to know more about the confidence that we might have in them. And some people want to hire an outside expert to come in, and that would take time, and then tell us I didn't know that you had any knowledge about Payne Brothers before you spoke. So I think that in there, there's a strategy for how to at least attempt to get to a decision on this is to in the myriad of opinions is wisdom. And so I think that we would all feel better if we got more opinions about this company from varying sources.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Yes, sir.
I've listened to all this.
I'm gonna bring it to you, Casey. I know you would.
I've been listening to what everybody said. This is the first time I knew about this problem that the gentleman has with his home. My first question that I personally would like to have answered is, has anything been done about that at this point? Is that setting like it is, like the picture showed?
Yes, the contractor,
Some of the pictures, the one from the distance where you can see the black holes, that's, you can see the bulkheads completed.
But as far as the soil and did the soil wash out because of the storm?
Yeah, so it's really a two-part thing and bad timing. You know, we're in the middle of a job, grass was disturbed. And grass is or you didn't have a storm. But it's a combination. Which had wave heights right at the right level to do.
Okay, so it was the waves that really eroded the soil. But in order to get to the soil, the bulkhead had to be out.
Well, the bulkhead, it was really, the bulkhead was far put back. I mean, they had to place some. So it was really the waves were above the bulkhead. The grass wasn't there.
can
What
I,
is the point about the grass? How did that disappear? Did that just get eroded or what?
No, the grass was, and then able to do the washing away because the grass wasn't there primarily. I really would like, in hindsight, I would want to get a big steel plate, lay it up in there.
Casey, what happened is the contractor built the bulkhead and the house is very close to the bulkhead. And you have a horizontal section, which is a little bit wider than the walkway. And you have a very steep slope to the bottom of his deck. The bottom of his deck is sitting on deep foundation. I don't know what they are. What happened is the contractor secured the new fill all the way up to the bulkhead, put it up, and then you have the little steep slope that washed out the waves and got underneath about 2 feet underneath his deck. And the contractor came back that day, it was gone because of the storm, came back and then Monday, and we let him take some of the fill we had in the common area and he pushed it back there. And he did not fill it up all the way to the top, but he filled up some. And the way to fix his, basically he has some parapet horizontal boards, about 4 or 5, that needs to be removed so we can be able to squeeze in all fill under. And then he's so close to the bulkhead in his building, older building, the contractor put a retaining wall. In his building, there is no retaining wall to help with that. So basically, you're gonna put some fill back, you're gonna put grass, and if the wave hit that portion of the time, possibility is it may erode again. So I was talking to him is there is a solution, put it back like it is in the grass. And there are other ways to harden that surface area, either by rocks or by
Well,
leaching.
I got the connection back and Katie said she was gonna call on me next, so I'm gonna try and make it one last statement.
That's a-
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, go ahead. He's speaking, yes.
First of all, the house, your particular house, has piling underneath it for the main frame of the structure. It does. As all of them along there in Bell Harbor do. So,
They ripped them and started the mounting, started the structure. They went underneath and around these wooden pilings, they put footers and poured a slab underneath the house. Brick ledge and everything.
right, but there's no signs of the main frame having any incurred damage at all. No signs of that.
No, no. I did have a structural expert come out, and what they did was they did a baseline on my foundation. And he said that although it had started to erode under the edge of my foundation, he did not feel like it was loaded, that it was a problem, but it needs to be restored soon. And so I think we dodged a bullet, that it could have been a lot worse, but it was just on the edge of where it could have, any more damage, it would have been a lot worse. So we're very fortunate, actually.
I am a structural engineer, and I've been into problems like this before. It's just as I'm here, my question is, why are we discussing this in this kind of detail here? Has the problem been resolved right now so that we aren't worrying about whether you're going to lose any more? Or do we know that?
I think only a storm, I think it's going to be okay as long as we don't have another storm.
Well, with the kind of forecast I've heard, that's sort of looking the wrong way at it. I think we all came here, I thought, to consider a contract that was to be placed on the additional work under
Yes.
our assessment.
Yes.
And most of the time has been spent about the existing work that was already allotted for. I'm having problems with this.
It's a part of that, and that is that the chosen contractor to do the continued work is the same one that is doing the work now. That's so some concerns are raised based on what we've seen, what people have seen from this contractor. So there's concern, why would we go with the same contract? Because some people have concerns about the work that's gone on to date. Does that make sense? So if it were a different contractor, it wouldn't be a play on the, or an issue for choosing the next contract. Does that make sense? Everybody has different opinions.
We shouldn't have, we should have somebody overseeing the job, number one. And number two, that the contractor is well versed in this and has been through it before, or should have been. And I don't quite see how any of this is meshing right now.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the board and all the hard work they've done. And I know there's been a lot of controversy. My thought is we have learned from this experience. We have to go forward. Do we want another mistake like this? There are so many homes in the canal, not mine, yours, I don't know who else, but where the grass easement is very short, just like Dave and Colleen's. We do not want this situation to occur again.
And the canals, we will not have the situation anyway because we're not removing the existing contract bulkhead. We're gonna build it in
We
front of
want
it.
integrity.
What is
We
that?
want integrity.
Okay. Anyway, any other comments? We have a motion on the floor and we need to take.
Katie? Katie?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Katie?
Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Katie, well, to the board, a couple of comments. If we put this off, or if we sign this contract, we're looking at March of next year before we get started. That particular construction schedule puts us right where we are this year, very close to hurricane season. With whatever contractor we have, I think that needs to be evaluated. The current bid is several months old, and by that time it will be almost a year old. You have talked about having increases in materials and cost of labor. None of that is going to be incorporated in this bid unless Payne Brothers is very unusual or had a very high bid to begin with. Are we going to end up putting them out of business because we're going to force an issue of them being able to perform under numbers that are not good? The other thing is that we have not done an assessment of the damage that was caused in those areas that were going to be included in this new section to find out if that replacement is even viable the way it was bid. I think those are all things that should be looked at. Again, I'm going to come back to, I know we have engineers and skilled people on the board, but it needs to be an independent evaluation of those things, just like we use independent lawyers. We don't go to the lawyers that are residents for legal advice. We don't go to the CPAs that are in our residence for accounting advice. We should do the same thing with a contractor as far as the structural engineering. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd just like to say something. We did hire a structural engineer and he said that it needs to be fixed sooner than later. He said it needs to be fixed sooner than later. And he talked about taking the deck off, packing the soil, certain specific type of soil. But he said we can't wait, else there will be shifting.
Colleen, that was not meant about what your repair is. I was only talking about the new work being done.
Okay, any other comments? We have a motion on the floor and we need to vote on it. We'll take a vote. Should we table the vote on the contractor today? We need to vote. Vote yes or no? Calling for the vote. Nay. 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 No. Dwayne. Yes or no?
They're not going to table it.
I've raised the motion, so I kind of.
Okay. Matt?
I find it difficult, but after listening more, I'm sorry, I guess. But I think that we have really two issues. single incident. So I'm gonna say nay.
Okay, we have Barbara,
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, what did you ask, sir? Couldn't hear you.
we are taking votes to table this vote tonight, yes or no?
I think it should be tabled.
Okay, we had passed seven, it didn't pass, 7 nay and 2 yes. So the vote is on tonight.
Vote is on.
Okay, then,
Just to be clear, that was the motion to table and it failed.
yes. Yes. What we have now is a vote to accept the low bidders.
You need a motion first, Rolf.
Yes, I know. I mean, and right now we're asking for a motion to accept the low bidder.
I'll make that.
Okay, second. Any further comments?
Go ahead, Tim.
Hot mic, Barbara.
I vote no, not to accept it.
For the vote. Yeah, second, yes. I'm asking for a vote. Let's vote. Yes, approve. Approve.
Yes.
Yes. Matt? Yes. Okay, 8-1 approved to award to the lowest bidder. And we will work on preparing a contract and resubmitting it and reviewing by the board. And we will approve it in an open meeting as soon as we can. Thank you. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
It's a waste of time.
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Yeah. Yeah. Second. Go ahead, ask your question.
Again, I'm kind of new to these proceedings. Do you have somebody that's taking minutes, that's like writing down all of the questions that have been asked? And that, and by, like, you say, okay, we'll have an answer at such an, when will someone like me get the answer?
We'll try to answer them as soon as we can within
Yeah,
a
but
week.
like,
Within
by
a week.
what format? Will it come out in a letter? Will it come out? I mean, how will someone like me,
Those should be in the minutes.
like answers to resident questions will be listed and then the answers will be there, or how does that work?
We have different ways of conveying them, but we'll convey them either in the next meeting or through the minutes. Yeah. Yeah, we have a meeting in 2 weeks. If we can provide those answers by then, we will. Okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.